Welcome back to another instalment of New Zealand's Bird of the Week, where in this video I will be talking about the New Zealand storm petrel, birds thought to be extinct which flew in almost out of nowhere back into the limelight of being known to still be alive. I hope you enjoy. Small birds weighing about 35 grams and being about 18 centimetres in length, about the size of a sparrow, New Zealand storm petrels are mostly blackish brown, as well as having a white underside. They are similar in appearance to other storm petrels, and it is hard to usually tell the difference between these birds and others due to their small size and from how far away they are usually seen, although up close it can be more apparent. Wilson's storm petrels are similar in size, though like the white underparts seen in the New Zealand birds, also having more rounded wings and flights which is more fluttery when observed. Black-bellied storm petrels are also quite a bit larger, 53 grams to their 35, and more bulky proportionately, alongside having darker markings. Birds until recently weren't even thought to still be alive, with them being known of from only 3 specimens collected in the 19th century, both housed in Europe, until almost out of nowhere they reappeared. In the January of 2003, Ian Saville and Brent Stephenson, off of Whitianga birdwatching around the Coromandel, spotted a small black and white bird fly across the bow of their boat. The photos they took were later developed, and due to their experience of birdwatching, realised that they were quite different from the other petrels that they were used to seeing. They were initially thought to either be a black or white-bellied storm petrel, although further examination of the photos by Alan Tennyson, a fossil curator at Te Papa in Wellington and an expert on New Zealand's extinct birds, raised the possibility that this was a documentation of the once thought to be extinct New Zealand storm petrel. In spite of the photos, what was needed to more accurately determine whether or not this chance encounter represented the extinct birds or not was through direct observation/DNA evidence. The first such direct observation came like the previous encounter out of nowhere, with a bird flying into a fisherman's boat near Little Barrier Island, which to the luck of the scientific community, the fisherman in the boat was an ex-conservation officer who recognised him as something special and got it measured, weighted and banded the following day after putting them in a box the previous night. DNA wasn't however gathered due to how out of nowhere this encounter was. A 4-year capture programme was undertaken between 2005 and 2009 to do so. Capturing birds to take samples from them proved to be a challenge, until the idea came of developing a net gun, which would be able to fire a net with 4 projectiles on the corners of it to ensnare them. Having a range of about 15 through 20 metres, up to 11 birds were caught using this method, and analysis was later conducted on 3 of them. The results of this sampling confirms what ornithologists had suspected, that the birds at sea were in fact living New Zealand storm petrels after comparing them to tissue fragments from the overseas museum specimens. As the question of their survival was answered, more questions became apparent, as since they were still alive, where were they breeding? Tag birds had only been tracked at sea, so speculation remained as to whether the birds were either breeding on one of the Hauraki Gulf's many islands, or were only visiting New Zealand and actually bred elsewhere, which would call into question their name. More information came about in January of 2011, where an observation was made of a bird having a plant stalk attached to their leg, which strongly indicated that the birds had been ashore for breeding. Not only this, but the plant stalk was found to belong to one that only naturally occurs in northern New Zealand, which supported the idea of local breeding in the area. Further research found that they were breeding under the tall forests in the interior of Little Barrier Island, which was a great relief to the researchers, since the island had been free of introduced mammalian predators, from cats being removed in 1980 and Pacific rats in 2004. The first of their eggs were found in February of 2014, with them being mainly white with a fine level of pink spots concentrated at one end of the shell. While accurate data of their population is not well known, the low rate of resightings of banded birds suggests a good sized population of about 2,000 or under, though their tiny range and comparatively low numbers means they're classified as critically endangered, considering how one big event could heavily impact them. Given they are only 50 kilometres away from Auckland, it shows that even close to our main population centres, there is still a ton more to learn about our natural environments and the animals that live in them. And with that, I thank you for watching this instalment of New Zealand's Bird of the Week. For next time, you're now able to vote for the Kereroo and All New Zealand Pigeon, which are large and often very loud flyers, with a particular fondness of berries. With that, I'll see you next time, whenever that may be.